Danger. Once you get into the desert, there's no going back, said the camel driver. And when you can't go back, you have to worry only about the best way of moving forward. The rest is up to Allah, including the danger.
Morning, Young Kings. Time for part two. Took a little break in between, about 5 minutes, and just listen to the birds. That's a beautiful sound. I mean, a beautiful sound. You know, the Most High God created all this, so praises to the Most High. But as we were going through the list, I think, well, I know I concluded on 24, so I'll pick up on 25. Once again, if there's something that's beneficial to you, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. And maybe if you want to go in depth on any of the ones from the previous video or some in this video that you want a little more information on or want me to expound more on, because I'm going to get through the remaining ones on this video. So I may go a little fast, some I may park on, but other ones I'll just kind of breeze over. So if you want a little more information, just put it in the comments and we can grow together. So let's grow. So number 25, never change for anyone. Change not initiated internally will not last. Never change for anyone. There's people that want to shape and mold you into what they want you to be, whether it be your parents, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your employer. Everybody is lobbying for you to be what they want you to be. But until it is internally realized, it won't be externally manifested. So do not try to change for anybody. I'm not saying you don't need to change, because we all need to evolve and we all need to grow. But it comes to a point where it has to be rooted initially. You have to have a desire to change, because when you start changing for other people, it's never going to be enough. You know, you give somebody an inch, they want to start running marathons and they want to start telling you what to do over here and do this and you should do this. And a lot of times we go to friends, we go to family with, hey, what do you think I should do? And the person will give you their advice, but they're telling you what to do. And then if you don't do it, they're upset at you. Like, hey, I just told you what to, why would you even ask me? Like, there's no option for you to choose on yourself. So never change for anybody. You know, if you need to change, make sure it's rooted in something internally in you, because change comes from the inside out, not the outside in, because anything on the outside won't last. Number 26, and you've probably heard me say this a million times. If people around you don't grow, then they must go. The only option to be included in your life is to grow or go. So there's no room for stagnation. You know, create an environment that's conducive to you learning, to you growing, to you maturing, to you evolving. If people want you to always be the same, like the person who views life at 20 and still look at life the same way at 50 has just wasted 30 years of their life. You know, don't let people say, hey, you change. If next time somebody say that you change, tell them thank you. Tell them you've been working on it. Don't hide like, hey, no, I ain't changed. And I used to struggle with this, especially when I converted from enlisted to an officer, became a lieutenant. And not so much from a professional perspective, because I always maintained a professional posture. But I wanted to let people know from the old neighborhood that I was still the same old Drew. But my life experiences was expanding. It was making me something different and bigger. But I wanted to shrink in order that I didn't make people feel uncomfortable around me. Never do that. Never do that. Never shrink for nobody. And I think I mentioned that in the previous video. So if they don't grow, they got to go. There's no room for stagnation. 27, do not become predictable. Display the diversities of your gift. And what I mean by that is, like, when you become predictable, people can start to manipulate you, either than the things that you love or that you hate. You know, they know how to push your buttons. And that's why I think, you know, earlier when I was talking about blood being thicker than water, and sometimes your biggest hater would come from those who say they love you, is that when you're predictable, they know how to push your buttons. The people that's closest to you, they know how to manipulate you and they know how to push your buttons to really make you go off. So don't be so predictable where they can, you know, if they see you snapping, just remain silent. And if they're used to you being silent, maybe one time you need to snap. And I'm not saying doing anything violent, but they need to know there's diversities within inside you, and they don't need to be placing you in a box. Cages are for zoo animals. You know, they got lions that are in the cage, and you know, people come up there and they spectate and they look at them, but they would never do that. So don't let nobody put you in a zoo cage. You know, be unpredictable. Be who you are. When people think they know you, they can manipulate you and control you, either through love or hate. So that's another one on there. So number 28, what I just did. Take time to reflect on your life. Do not hide from your past, as it may hold the keys to your future. Um, like I said, every time I come up to my birthday, I start reflecting on the year in review and previous years. So this year I wanted to share 47 tips, but take time to reflect, because there's lesson in everything you've been through. And at times it may feel like there's no lessons in adversity, but some of your best lessons will come through adversities. All things are connected, and that's what it talks about in Romans. Like, all things work for the good for them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. They didn't say all things will feel good, that they will always be good, that they would smell good, that they would taste good. It just said in the end it will work out for the good. And I'm a living testimony for that. Like, things that I went through that I thought were going to crush me are the same thing that's blessing me now. It made me stronger. It helped me increase my endurance, and it helped me to be mindful and grateful for the things that I do have. Number 29, allow grace for people to be who they are. However, that grace does not mean they need to be in your life. When people being who they are offends who you are, then it's time distance required. When people being who they are offends you and who you are, then it's time for distance. Distance is required. Um, Number 30 is in line with number 29. Be willing to walk alone. Those who start with you may not survive your journey. Like, there's reason people coming in. They said people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. That's not on my note. That's just free chicken from the Holy Spirit. Reason, season, or lifetime. And you'll frustrate yourself trying to turn a reason into a season and trying to turn a season into a lifetime. You gotta respect those three appropriate categories, and don't try to place somebody in a separate category when their actions and their words and their deeds is indicating that they're not supposed to be. Some people are just for a reason, you know, just maybe to help you get through that. Some people are just for a particular season, and that season may be as short as a week, or it could be as long as 20 something years. But when that season is over, then you understand that that wasn't meant for it to be a lifetime. And you can frustrate yourself by trying to turn that season and try to hold on to it for a lifetime. So, you know, just some people won't make it through the whole journey. And some people will be very instrumental in that season. So it's not to discredit people in that season. Some people will be extremely essential in that season, but they're not meant to be there for a lifetime. And those who are going to be there for a lifetime, then they're going to be there. You know, I used to tell, I think I told my daughter about her baby daddy, and this might get me in trouble. And I said something off the wall to him, and I explained to her, I said, look, if a man wants to be in this kid's life, there's nothing I can say that's going to prevent him from being in this kid's life. And if a man doesn't want to be in this kid's life, there's nothing I can say that's going to motivate him to do that. So we'll get to that later. Number 31. This is big. Know and understand the difference between being used and being utilized. Being used is abusive and it's draining. Being utilized is empowering and life-giving. So you got gifts and talents. You got skills. You got resources. You got to understand the difference between being used and being utilized. Like, when you operate in your gift, I mean, it's empowering and you are able to flourish and people around you. But when you're being used, it's just one-sided. People are just making withdrawals, continual withdrawals. You give somebody $5 today, they want $10 tomorrow. And then you get $10 tomorrow, they're going to want $50 next week. They're always going to, to be withdrawing, but they're never going to be depositing stuff into you. When they're not depositing anything into you, then you know they're more on the using than the utilizing. So know the difference between being used and utilized. Number 32, I had to learn this over the last few years. You cannot burn the candle at both ends of the stick, meaning like you need rest. Rest is not a break from productivity, it's a part of it. Rest is not a break from productivity, it's a part of it. A lot of people want to just grind, and just run themselves into the ground. You need rest because when you're not well rested, you make poor decisions when you're tired. You need to strive to get like 7 hours of sleep. You need to figure out when that seven is. For me, I know that I want to be an early riser. So I try to govern my activities, especially over the last few years. Now, there's exceptions on the weekend when I stay up. But for the most part, I get to bed about 10 or 10:30 because I know I want to get up about 5 or 5:30 in the morning to get my reading in. And I want 7 hours of sleep. So you need to figure out and structure your day so you can try to get 7 hours of sleep. Number 33. This is important, young kings, because you'll be building friends with other men and stuff of that nature. I want you to pay attention to number 33. If a man does not take care of his kids, it's just a matter of time before he turns on you as well. I'm going to say that again. If a man does not take care of his kids, it's just a matter of time before he turns on you as well. Never trust a man that can't take care of his kids and doesn't take responsibility for his kids, because if he doesn't do that for something that he helped create, your friendship is never going to last. You're never going to last. It's never going to be strong. And that's one thing I could say that I'm proud of, is that my friends, the people that I call friends, are good fathers. Now, they may not have the best relationship with the one they created their kid with, but they are significant in their kid's life. Meaning they're investing time, they're investing their resources, their energy into them. They're investing their life and trying to make sure they take care of the kids. And some of the women they have made kids with sometimes makes it more difficult for them to do that, but it doesn't discourage them from doing that because they understand that they contributed to that kid being in the world, so they're going to help take care of it. Number 34. If a woman is posting revealing pictures on social media, your attention will never be enough. Leave before you start catching feelings for bad decisions. Social media is big, and you got, a lot of people out there, a lot of women out there posting stuff, and yeah, it may be appealing while you dating, and you may already try to slide in some DMs. But if they're posting it out there, then your attention by itself is not going to be enough. In a subset, what we're talking about women is like, if a woman won't follow you, leave. If she wasn't, like, you are supposed to be the head as a king. Now, I'm not saying this from a dictatorship perspective, because when a woman submits to her husband, and that's what you should be working towards, you shouldn't be just dating just to be dating just for a booty call or anything like that, and we get into that later. But really, when they're submitting, they're submitting to a submitted man that's submitted to the Most High, so they're submitting to love. So I'm not saying this from a dictator perspective, but if a woman won't follow you, you need to leave. And why I say leave? Because you already know she won't follow you. She gonna be going anyway, and just leave. All right. The second part of that, if a woman can't respect you, there's no way she can truly love you. Like, if she doesn't respect you, no matter how much she tried to display love in other areas, it's never going to work. You're never going to feel truly loved until you respect it. So might as well get out early. Don't fall in love with bad decisions. Number 35. Everywhere you go, you take you with you. So as I mentioned in the previous one, you want to get out from your hometown and you take yourself to a new environment, expose yourself and expand your mind, but you still take you with you. So you don't put the burden on the new environment to be everything that your past wasn't. You got to get down to the root cause of why you are doing something and understanding who you are. Because if you don't deal with the root cause, it's going to resurface itself in other areas of your life, in the other environment. That's how you can have somebody quit this job for this reason, and they get to the new job, and they're excited when they get the job, but then after a week or so, they're the same grumpy person, the miserable person, because it was them. The other job probably rejoicing that they're gone. So wherever you go, you take you with you. Deal with the root cause of that. Number 36. Do not plant seeds that you don't want to grow and eat the fruit of it later. So whatever you plant now, it's going to be growing, and you're going to have to eat that fruit. So make sure you're planting wise seeds. Not only seeds like in trees, but where you plant your seeds, where you have kids, because some of you are having kids with women that you know you can't get along with, so you know it's going to be difficult for you to co-parent. So just make sure you mindful where you plant your seed at. Number 37, it's important as well. Never expect yourself out of others. You'll be greatly disappointed, especially when, for me, I know I got a big heart, and I know that I go above and beyond. I can honestly say that I strive to be a better friend to my friends than they are to me. But you'll frustrate yourself, and if you expect people to respond the way you respond, you'll be sorely disappointed. People are not you, so do not expect yourself out of other people. Number 38. If you give more than you take, this world will be a better place. If you take more than you give, you are selfish. Those scales should not be unbalanced. If you're the one always receiving, you always have a need, then that's unbalanced. If you're the one that's always giving and you're always exerting yourself, that's out of balance. So if you give more than you take, if you had to do, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And I think that's why I'm blessed, because I've been blessed to be a blessing. So if you give more than you take, the world will be a better place. If you take more than you give, then you're selfish. Number 39, especially for your young kings, it is better for you to be consistent than for you to be talented. It is better for you to be consistent than for you to be talented. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, but when talent works hard, it's hard to beat. That's how you can see teams that may not be on paper the best, but they'll beat a team that's more talented because they worked harder. Um, Prime example in this year in the playoff with the Celtics and Brooklyn. You know, they had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. You would think from a talent perspective that, they should win. But the reality of it is that, you know, it's better to be consistent. And if you look at Brooklyn this year, they have been anything but consistent. They haven't played together much. I think they only played like, out of 82 games, they may have played like less than 20 games together. So they wasn't consistent. So hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But when talent works hard, they're hard to beat. Number 40, always be dependable, but never become a dependent, especially as a grown man. Like, the dependent status is for women and children. It's not for kings. The only place you're supposed to be depending on is the Most High God. Most High God. So when you apply on the application, they ask if you are dependent or have dependents. As a man, you're not a dependent. As a grown man, always be dependable, but never be a dependent. That's for women and children. You depend on the Most High God. And I think one of the most blessings I've ever received in life is for the Most High to allow people to fail me and people to walk out of my life and just, and I realized, like, man, I'm doing better without them. Like, I didn't fall off because I was never depending on them in the first place. I depended on God. So regardless of what they do, I'm okay. But when you in a dependent status, then you at a disadvantage to how they feel about you and what they want to do for you. And now that's how you can have a grown man get put out of a house, or say you can't drive a car. If it's your car, what you mean you can't drive? If you're the one paying for it, then once again, always be dependable, but never be a dependent. 41, never stay in a place where you are tolerated. We went over that. If you can't be celebrated, then you don't need to be there. And the person that tolerates you, they'll think they're doing you a favor. So make sure you're never in a place where you tolerate, because, you'll frustrate yourself and the other person, because they're like, oh man, I'm giving you another chance, like kick rocks. Only go where you're celebrated. That's another subset on there. Be in an environment where you can be truly flourishing and celebrated. The next one, 43. Faith and fear cannot operate in the same space. You must choose. A lot of times people will say they have faith, but then their words are communicating fear. I know when I was going to Afghanistan, I had a pastor come to me and says, hey, aren't you scared about going over there? People die over there. And I had to tell him, I said, people die here too. I said that same God that I serve is not geographically restricted to this area. If he's the God of all, either he's the God of all or he's not God at all. So you got to understand that he's not geographically restricted to this area. My God is over in Afghanistan. And every time I used to look up and I see the sun or I see the moon, I used to say, my God is still in control. I'm all right. Number 44, or whatever number, 45, because you're not numbered. I did number. I think I got off on one of these numbers. Okay. But anyways, the next one is win the morning, win the day. Nothing good comes from sleeping in. As I said, you want to get that 7 hours of sleep, but once you get that 7 hours, you need to get your butt up. It's time to rise and grind. Don't be just laying in bed and being non-productive. Get up, and if you ain't got a job, you need to be looking for a job, or you need to be researching, going to school, or doing something. But do not spend a lot of time in the bed. 46, no, 45. Excuse me, 45. I'm gonna get these numbers right. Do not run from anything. Run towards something. Once again, do not run from anything, run to something. Quitting is a dangerous, addicting habit. Once you start to quit, it's a learned behavior. It becomes easier to quit the next time. It becomes easier to quit, and then the next thing you know, you'll find yourself always starting over. Why can't you make progress? Because you're always starting over. That's what we talked about before. It's better to be consistent than it is to be talented. So you want to make sure you're not quitting. Um, the only thing you should quit are the things you were never supposed to begin with in the first place. So if you're smoking, you're drinking excessively, you're doing destructive things, then obviously you need to quit those things. But when it comes to a goal, you don't quit. You can alter your thing. That's why I say you never run from anything, you run towards something. Now you can say, okay, I've done my assessment, this is not for me. You're not running from that. You establish a new goal and you start running towards that. So never, or how right that, don't run from anything, run towards something. This next one, especially for young kings, be mindful of this. um, Lust is a beautiful assassin. Lust is a beautiful assassin. It's going to kill you. It's going to kill you. And I had an acronym for lust, and I said it before: losing under sexual temptation. LUST. Losing under sexual temptations. Um, Lust is an enemy to your dream. It's an enemy to your creativity. It just steals. It steals healthy relationships. So do not participate in your own assassination, because lust is it's a beautiful assassin. Um, and if you're not careful, it'll take you over. You'll start losing to sexual temptation and stuff that I had to learn. Like, if you cheat in a relationship, one or two things are happening. Either the woman you were with is not enough and she's not meeting your needs, meaning you're settling, which is a bad thing, or that you're being excess. You're getting your needs met, but then you're just greedy, which is another bad thing. So find out how to eradicate both those. If the woman's not meeting your needs and not wanting to be there for you in that way, and you're in that committed marriage and relationship, then you need to get to some counseling and get in a healthy state, because lust is a beautiful assassin. It'll have you doing things, um, and you'll be participating in your assassination. And the last one, this is important to me because I went through life uh, just kind of like with a just my resting face was always, people used to say I always looked mad, that I was unapproachable. So number 47, happy birthday to me. I'll be 47 on Sunday. And this is my motto: learn to smile. You've been through a lot and you're still standing. Learn to smile. Like, it was difficult over this last year and a half. I realized I've been glowing. I smile more in this last year and a half to 2 years than I have in the 45 years previous to that. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy life before, but my joy is in abundance now. Um, and it's showing. I mean, the relationship I am is flourishing. It's feeding me, and I'm feeding it. Like, I just have this joy, and it's displayed with a smile on my face. I find myself laughing a lot more. I find myself not being as serious about some things that used to irritate me before. Now there's stuff that still bother me at time, but I find myself smiling more. And I'm going to continue to do that. Even when it rains in your life, it has a purpose. Like, rain is watering the grass. Like, it's setting the conditions for that next season in your life, for your harvest. Like I said, stand tall, in your storm. And the thing about that is, like, life is but a vapor. Enjoy it while you're still among the living. You know, I don't think I could go 3 or 4 weeks without having a notification of such and such passed, this person this, just death is coming. I mean, you have never been closer to death than you are this very moment. Like, regardless of what you've been through in life, you are closer to death than you have ever been in your life. You just got closer by listening to me. Like, time is unforgiving. And if you don't enjoy life while you're among the living, that's only your problem. So these are little tips and things that if you listen to these 47 things, and apply them to your life, I'm telling you, you can avoid a lot of headaches, and you can expound. Like, this joy that I've have right now is like, I'm 2 years into learning how to smile. Imagine if you got this lesson at 20 years old. And then at 47, you can say, man, I've been smiling for 27 years and I've just been enjoying life. I'm not saying I lived a bad life. I'm just saying the quality of it could be enhanced by applying these tips. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down and we can grow together. Let's grow, young kings.